Okay, so welcome to part 3 of the Discotek huge announcement bonanza. Hopefully this bit won't take too long, but it's very interesting. So yeah, you can obviously read it here if you like, or you can just listen to me talk about it, give my opinion on it. But I'm very excited about this, but there are some downsides to it as well. I think I'm not sure yet, but there might be some downsides to this. Okay, so some of you might remember that when a while back, Discotek were talking about the possibility of putting Lupin the Third, the original TV series, out on Blu-ray, but on a standard definition Blu-ray, i.e., they were going to put all 23 standard definition episodes out on Blu-ray at the highest bitrate the standard definition could those standard definition videos could possibly be, onto a Blu-ray, and you would get the perfect standard definition experience. At least that they would hope. But it would be on a Blu-ray, and that would perhaps be a bit confusing. I'm glad they didn't do that, but what came out of that conversation was a lot of the Discotek fans and Discotek were talking about this, and one of the things that came out was suggested, me included, I suggested this as well in the comments. I don't think I was the originator of the suggestion, but I certainly made my point on it, which was, why don't Discotek kickstart Lupin the Third Blu-ray, like a proper HD transfer? Because in Japan, the original series at least was put out using high definition elements and has a pretty good transfer on Blu-ray. Like, why don't you do a Kickstarter to raise the funds to be able to afford the HD materials, and without worrying about a loss of profit, etc. Without worrying about not making a profit, and putting Lupin the Third out on Blu-ray in the way that Blu-ray is intended for high definition material. That never came about either, but it seems that Discotek have taken that idea to some extent and have produced this. So let's read the thing, and then we'll talk about it. So, question for classic anime fans. If Discotek decided to start a pre-ordering system for certain classic titles that might not be released otherwise, would you be interested? Pretty rhetorical question as far as I'm concerned when you're talking to Discotek fans. It's like, oh, you might release classic titles that might not be released otherwise, i.e. they're sort of obscure? Yes, I'm interested. Details are still being discussed, and no decision has been made yet, unfortunately, because I think this is a great idea. We are looking at possible options, though. This would not be through a Kickstarter site, but probably through the Discotek website or another site made for this purpose. This would be a bit different than a normal crowdfunding project, which I'm going to say right now, thank God, because Anime Souls, the way that works is terrible, and Anime Souls is practically dead in the water as far as I'm concerned. They did barely any advertising for it, and the way they went about the crowdfunding I thought was poorly done. But anyway, the basic idea is this. We would put up a title to be released if pre-orders reach a certain amount. Title will be released exclusively to purchasers from the website for about 6 months, and only available to buyers who pre-ordered in the first month. I didn't get this the first, because I mentioned that I tried doing this morning, didn't I, or something? It didn't work, but yeah, I get this now. I didn't get this earlier, but basically what I was confused by, I thought it was going to be that they were going to print, obviously, all the pre-orders, but they were going to ship them out slowly. But as far as I can tell, what it's actually going to be is, once the pre-orders are met, people can buy it from their website for 6 months, but the only people who can buy it from their website for the first month of that 6 are the people that originally pre-ordered. Okay, that makes sense. After 6 months, it may be entered into normal distribution if sales are strong enough, or it will be put out of print. Everyone that pre-orders will get their name on the DVD credits as a supporter. The price will be the same for everyone that pre-orders. So that's also cool. There won't be any special tiers or extra prizes. That's obviously an incentive that Kickstarter and Indiegogo and stuff use to try and get more funding. This is just to get a show released and translated that normally wouldn't be, and at the same time include everyone that helped out. We will keep the crowdfunding price of the set down to a reasonable amount. Let's say, for example, $60 for 26 episode series to get it translated, authored and manufactured. This is another great thing. Anime Souls is really expensive. They want $40 for a 13 episode series. The Discotek are looking for 60 for 26, which I think is much better, and I think the titles that Discotek will hopefully get up on this pre-order scheme, I think will work. I hope that there'll be better shows. I think the problem with a lot of the Anime Soul shows was they weren't as high profile shows, and without the exposure that Anime Souls just completely lacks in terms of advertising of any kind, it meant that those shows just didn't. The people who would probably put money down for those shows didn't even realize they had the opportunity to do so. So anyway, so I think that's a better price in getting people in as well. We would do it based on number of sets pre-ordered and not total dollar amount for the funding. Again, I think that's a good idea. We'll keep the pre-order requirements lower to reach the goal easier. So we'll keep the pre-order requirements lower to reach the goal easier, so the success rate is higher. So again, that's more. So basically, it's like we just want to know that we can get this original upfront sale, and then hopefully as they were talking up here, hopefully in the first, like the pre-ordered from the first month. So they basically what they want to do is they want to get a guaranteed amount of sales before making the wide distribution for everybody else exclusively purchases in the following 5 months or whatever. So they just want to make sure they can get that guaranteed sale. If they can get that guaranteed sale, hopefully they'll make up the rest of the numbers, or hopefully that guaranteed sale will be enough for them to start turning a profit. I don't know. But yeah, that's basically the idea of that. So we would potentially do 2 of these per year, which I think is a reasonable amount. I prefer 3, but I understand why, because it obviously takes time to translate this stuff. 1 in January and February area, and 1 in the October-November area. The anime would be something from the 1970s, 1980s, or even maybe the 1990s, but it would remain titles that would not likely get a normal release. This would be mainly DVD only to keep costs down, but we may possibly do a Blu-ray or something more obscure at some point using this method. I would imagine the stuff that would get Blu-ray are potentially movies or short OVAs, things like that. I can't imagine that they would do a classic series on Blu-ray, unless by some absolute miracle something got released and the sales were exponentially insane, and it turns out that doing Blu-ray is a totally viable option for it. But I can't imagine there's any show from the 1970s, 80s or 90s that hasn't already been licensed by that could warrant that, unfortunately, but I feel like a movie or two might. Anyway, so I think this is a really, really, really awesome idea. I really hope that if they do this, that they allow international customers in on it. I think that is a key thing. It's something that Anime Souls do not do. I understand the reasons why Anime Souls don't do it, and I could understand the reasons if Discotek don't do it. I don't. But the thing about Discotek that's different to Anime Souls, so far as I'm aware, is that Discotek, I can only assume, must have some sort of agreement with whoever they're going to be licensing these shows from, that they license solely because I'm trying to explain this, it's really difficult, because basically if you license something, you license it with the intention to release it, but Discotek might not do that in this case. Something might not reach the pre-order numbers and it might not work out, which would be a very sad day for everyone, but that's the reality of the situation. So you're not going to pay a huge amount for a license and then, or any amount of money, you would think, to do a license of something that might not ever be released. You would never make your money back on it. So I can only assume they must have some sort of deal similar to Anime Souls. The thing about Anime Souls, and the reason why they don't open this up to anyone outside North America, or USA or Canada I should say, is because that's the only license they have. Like they don't have the rights to sell it to anywhere else in the world, because a lot of the classic like Tezuka production shows are being sold all around the world. Like they're just not quite as popular in America, but they do get sold in the South Americas and Europe, etc. So yeah, so I hope that this just isn't the case with Discotek as well. Obviously I'm in the UK, that would really bum me out. I know I could find ways, but it would really bum me out if I got shut out, and I think it would be a shame, because I feel like if you get international customers in on this and they're allowed to be a part of this pre-order system, and the fact it's based on pre-orders rather than funding is key to this. It makes me feel like Discotek must have already the license up front, and you're just putting your name down for a set like you would normally, and that shouldn't be a problem with international customers and rights, etc., etc. So yeah, but I feel like getting the international customers in is very important because you just widely open up the chance of this series being printed in any format, because you no longer then relying solely on the American and possibly Canadian user base. You're relying on America, Canada, uh, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand. I'm trying to go for like all the big English-speaking countries, as well as maybe South Africa or something. And obviously there's smattering of everybody else who speaks English around the world. But like the key points, like those few countries, like you need those people in. You need those people in to be able to definitely guarantee stuff. And I feel like if they do that and they don't shut those people out, they don't make it so people like me have to jump through hoops or whatever to get to the pre-ordering of this. I feel like this will be a success for them. There is a downside to this, as I said at the very beginning, and that is this worries me that maybe perhaps Discotek aren't going to just straight up do releases in the vein of Mazinger Z, Devilman, Cutie Honey anymore. I don't like, because this seems to be what this crowdfunding is all about. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, but it could be entirely possible that Discotek can no longer rely on the sales, or like they can no longer guarantee that releasing something like those free shows I mentioned will turn back a good enough profit for them to deem it viable, like without this system in place. Like I don't know if that's definitely like I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously that's just speculation, but who knows, like maybe this is really is about just putting out stuff that is more obscure than even Devilman, Mazinger Z and Cutie Honey, the original 70s series. Like I don't know, we'll wait and see, but it could possibly be the case that yeah, that could possibly be the case. But I'm going to say something that I feel guilty reading this, because I don't own Mazinger Z, I don't own Cutie Honey, and I don't own Devilman. I want to own all of them, but I have not bought them yet. I am failing Discotek Media, and I am going to no longer do that. I'm going to at least buy those free shows over the next few months for definite, and then from now on I'm going to pre-order the classic long wanted longer series that Discotek are putting out from the 70s and maybe 80s and stuff. Like the ones I definitely want, obviously, like no, I won't go for the ones I don't want just for the sake of it, but the ones I definitely want, which those three are in that list, I really want to own those. I should really own them already. Like I need to support companies like Discotek Media. If I don't, they're not going to be around. So if you're like me and do not get this stuff as early as you perhaps should, don't be like me. At least don't be like me from before. Be like the me I'm going to be in the future, where I'm going to support those releases as quickly as I financially can, basically. So yeah, I that's a change for me, but I'm really excited about this. I'm really, really, really excited about this. I hope some great things come from this. I don't know what we're going to see, if it even happens. I'm pretty sure this is definitely going to occur at least once. They're at least going to try this idea. I think it's a great idea. I think it's the right way to go about this, and hopefully we're going to get some really cool stuff out of it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I think that's, yeah, I'm going to stop on that. Although I will mention part 4 will be tomorrow, because apparently this isn't over. We will announce more licenses tomorrow and maybe more Lupin the Third. So I'm going to quickly just theorise what the Lupin thing might be. A lot of people here are hoping for, or at least one person, I suppose 16 people also, are hoping for Lupin the Third Season 2. I think that's definitely a possibility. I feel like it's surely just a matter of time before that happens. I've talked about it before, I won't go into it, but the fact that I will go into it a little bit. The fact that the dub is out there for 60 plus episodes, I think it is, I think makes it a very viable, despite its length, 155 episodes or something. I feel like it's a viable prospect for Discotek to put out on DVD, because the dub will help support that initial chunk. But I feel like Lupin the Third, in terms of what else they might be getting, because they've now caught up to the Funimation movies in terms of the older 90s, 80s stuff. They've, I would be surprised if they continue by releasing the old Funimation stuff in single DVDs, because a lot of that stuff is still easy to get hold of. Not the box sets; they're relatively expensive, but the single keep case releases of each of those movies isn't that expensive to get, and I don't think that would be worth their time. But I feel like some of the more of the modern movies might be worth their time. Something that just appeared on Hulu this week was, or last week, was Lupin the Third versus Detective Conan, which is obviously one of the TV movies, both big TMS Entertainment titles, and they've done a crossover. I think Detective Conan's TMS, but whatever. Yeah, they did obviously one of the Lupin New Year specials or whatever from a couple of years back. Yeah, it's on Hulu, but it was put out by TMS Entertainment themselves, not Discotek. Obviously, TMS Entertainment put up a lot of stuff on Hulu that hasn't actually even been licensed, like God Mars and this karate show. I can't remember what it is. So yeah, that's, if you have Hulu or watch Hulu, like that's you can see some really cool stuff there that you just can't see anywhere else in English unless you fan sub it, etc. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking because this will all be tomorrow. But yeah, tomorrow I'll be doing a video on the other announcements, obviously. So yeah, that's the first 3 parts done. Tomorrow will be another part. I've been Blaze. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.